While I was watching The Portal, there was this quote, and it said, unconditional love isn't just about loving everything, but it's about coming from a place of love in regards to everything. I know you love speaking on love and unconditional love and how important it is. So if you could just tell me a little bit more about your feelings in regards to this topic.
Yeah, one of the biggest traumas and the most amount of suffering that I see in the world comes from a misguided idea that we deserve love, we should be getting love, we should be receiving love, someone should be giving us love. And unfortunately, this leaves us in a place of disconnect from what's true. And what's true, when we say what's true, it's undeniable. It's just, it might not be experienced yet, but it doesn't mean it's not true. And that is that we are the essence of love at the subtlest level. Love is innate. Love is not something that we receive or we get. Love is something that we are. And what we're in the process of learning to do here as humans is to rewrite that deep program that any book we read, any TV series we watch, any movie we sit through, generally has that code of faultiness embedded within it, that you should be getting love, you should be receiving love, someone should be loving you. And what that does is that it continually puts our perspective of love in the outside world, when what we really need to do is look within and realize, oh my goodness, and that exercise that we went through this today, just really, if you did that every day, you'll start to realize, oh, I am the embodiment of love, and I can actually source that myself from like the inner geyser that continually flows outward, and it's always there. And when we start to, here's the irony, when we're looking for love, we'll never really get the amount we're looking for. So we'll always be coming from a place of lack, which means that I'm empty and I'm looking for someone to fill that cup up. But when we realize that our cup is overflowing, the irony is that we become very lovable. So when we start to realize that, and live and breathe the embodiment of love. And so if we look at some of the great awakened beings that realize, when we say realize, is self-realize, that's enlightened, they're of light, the Ramana Maharshis, the Christ, the Gandhis, the Mother Teresas, they can become incredibly lovable. And so lots of people want to love them. So when we're not looking for love, because we're so filled with love, we become very loved. It's very ironic, right? And so one of the things we want to really help humanity awaken to is the essence of their own lovingness. And what we currently have is a lot of, the analogy I like to use is the wave in the ocean. We have a lot of waves looking for the water. A lot of waves looking for, where's the ocean? Where's the ocean? I'm looking for water. It's like, you are it. You are it. You've been told to look out there. You've been told to look out there. You've been told to look in your family. You've been told to look in your relationship. You've been told to look, on Instagram, to have someone love you. But that's not where you're going to find it. And that's not where you should be looking for it. Once you start to realize within yourself, regardless of your upbringing, regardless of your circumstance, regardless of what your husband or your wife has done to you, that you have the sovereignty of being the embodiment of love. And that's where freedom exists.
Welcome, everybody, to the Heart Coherence Collaborative. We're so lucky to have Tom Cronin with us today. He's come highly recommended by several of our guests. He's up to such incredible work in the world. He has set the goal of having 1 billion meditators. He's produced The Portal, which I watched last night and was fantastic. So when I reached out to you and you said you'd come on, I was really excited. So Leah's going to read your official bio, and then you're going to guide us in a meditation, and then we're going to ask you some questions.
Yes, so you mentioned a couple things that I love the goal of having 1 billion people to meditate daily. And then you also said that Tom is the co-creator of the Portal book and movie. And Tom discovered meditation in the early stages of his finance career when the anxiety and chaos he was experiencing hit a crisis point. Meditation completely transformed his world, both personally and professionally. Today, Tom is passionate about reducing stress and chaos in people's lives, and his work in cultivating inner peace through meditation, takes him around the world as a speaker, a teacher, and a host of meditation retreats. Welcome.
Tom.
It's great to be here. Thanks for inviting me along today. And I'm really looking forward to today's session and taking everyone through a beautiful, loving heart meditation.
Yes.
Great.
So why don't we begin that?
Yeah, let's just go straight into it. So everyone just sitting comfortably in their chair and closing their eyes. And we close the eyes as we start to withdraw our attraction to the outside world. And we start to explore our inner world. So we first close down the eyes, the most stimulating part of our senses, and taking a deep breath deep into the belly. So filling up the belly like a big pot. And releasing the breath. I'm going to do this 2 more times just to allow the body to oxygenate. One more, and this will allow a deeper calmness in the body. And now just returning to your natural breath. And it's just a beautiful ebb and flow moving in and out of your body. We're going to start by bringing our awareness firstly to the breath moving through the nostrils. And just for a few minutes, we're going to do a little breath meditation just to de-excite the nervous system, to quieten the body and the mind down. So as the air is moving in and out of your body, I want you to notice how it passes through the nostrils. And as the ebb and flow of that air passes in and out of the nostrils, I want you to notice how there's a slight cooling effect around the rim of the nostril as the air is brushing the moisture on the skin ever so slightly, cooling that skin. It's very subtle. Whenever the mind drifts away, I want you to just bring it back to the cooling skin around the rim of the nostril. And it's a very gentle breath. It'll get softer and subtler as our mind becomes calmer. And you might notice the mind will try and find something a little bit more exciting. And with some authority, we bring the mind back to just this single point, the cool skin around the rim of the nostril. You might find a little calmness coming over the body. Maybe a sense of tiredness, that's okay. And now that our mind and body is becoming a little bit quieter, we're quieting the fluctuations of the mind. It's been very busy today. And now we have greater authority over the mind to go into our heart meditation. And so as we move our awareness just a little bit lower now, down into the chest area, I want you to visualize in your torso, all of your rib cage, this vast open spaciousness inside your chest, like a big open spacious area. And suspended in the middle of this big open spacious area is an orb of light, like the sun, about the size of a grapefruit or a baseball, suspended right in the middle of your chest, behind the chest plate. This orb of golden, loving light, pure radiance, pure warmth, pure softness, pure lovingness, the center of your loving center, your lovingness. And it's always radiating, always illuminating, regardless of the experience that you are moving through, regardless of who is in your life or who isn't in your life. Just as the sun is eternally burning bright, regardless of the clouds in the sky, your loving heart center is always illuminated, day and night, week after week, year after year. And this purity and this radiance is so bright, it spreads this luminosity down through the belly, like a warm treacle spreading down through the belly, radiating loving light. And it spreads down through the hollowness of your legs, radiating a beautiful golden loving light, filling up all of the depths of your body, down through the knees, down through the shins, down through the ankles, softening the ankles, down into the feet, and out into the toes. The whole lower half of your body is now filled with this beautiful aura, a beautiful loving light, so pure and light. And coming back to the orb in your chest, this beautiful loving golden light illuminating from this orb in your heart center, up through your chest, up through your collarbones, spreading out through the shoulders, softening the shoulders, and then running down through the arms, down through any tension in the elbows, loosening and softening, melting any tightness in the elbows, continuing down your forearms, melting any tightness in your wrists, spreading through into the palms and out to the thumbs and the fingers, filling the arms, the shoulders, the fingers, everything up with golden loving light. And then it radiates up through the throat, clearing any impediments and blockages in the throat area, opening up that channel, your ability to communicate clearly, spreading warmth and lovingness through the throat region, up into the head. Your whole head is filled with this beautiful, golden, radiant, loving light. Your whole body is this pure, golden, loving light. You can feel the lightness. There is no emotions. There is no darkness. It's just pure, golden, loving light. Your whole body is just the lovingness and lightness of being. And this light is so pure and so powerful and so bright. It starts to pierce through the pores of the skin and starts to radiate outward in a shimmering golden glow, creating a luminosity and a radiance and an aura around you, like the holy saints. Now you are this radiant, walking, moving embodiment of loving light. Your words, your thoughts, your actions, the expression of pure love You feel that lightness, almost like you could just float away. And now you awaken to your eternal lightness, eternal lovingness, and the pureness of your being, knowing that you aren't the stories, you aren't the history, you aren't your genetics, you aren't your family code or society code. You now realize and awaken to your truth, the truth beyond all stories, of your pure radiance of golden, loving light, emanating from the heart center within your chest, the source of it all. And just sit in silence for a moment now, just feeling that lightness, visualizing the radiance of that golden aura around you and the lightness through your whole body. And you're going to take this with you in each moment now in your life, knowing this is who you are, regardless of what experience you're moving through. Just as the sun is unperturbed by what nature of the clouds they are, it just is its divine, loving aura of light, uninfluenced and unaffected by the circumstances that it witnesses. And filling the lungs and the belly up with a deep breath again. And then just releasing the breath. And carrying that lightness with you as you slowly peel up the eyelids and come back, emerging into the interaction of the world from that place of luminosity. And welcome back.
Thank you so much for that, Tom. That was incredibly enjoyable. I feel like a ball of light. Yeah.
You look like a ball of light.
I would love to ask you if it's always been this way for you. Like, what inspired you to get into this meditation? I read that you're coming from a background as like a wolf on Wall Street.
Yeah, absolutely. I haven't been in this space for that long. I've been meditating for quite some time, but many years ago, my life was a place of much darkness and distraction. Those two things go very well together, darkness and distraction, where I was distracted by the glamorous and the enticing aspects of the outside world, to drugs and drinking and partying and sex and things, and just really trying to find myself and fulfillment of my identity through these experiences, these acquisitions. And of course, that is only going to lead us to suffering, which is why we have so much of it in the world. And in that dark night of the soul that I went through, a lot of anxiety, panic attacks, depression. And that's really this beautiful, interestingly loving, maternal intelligence of a universal design to somehow make life uncomfortable so that we can be guided through our own willingness to something else. And that's when the universe also provided, with this beautiful synchronicity, this understanding about the opportunities with meditation. It was a documentary about a property developer of all things, and I was watching that to learn how to be more successful making money. But he touched on that he used meditation for his success. It was only a tiny 1-minute section out of a 60-minute story about his success as a property developer. And this moment of seeing this person in a blue pinstripe suit, so it was a blue suit with pink pinstripe, meditating in a chair. And I wore pinstripe suits and I sat in chairs, and I was like, oh my goodness, it's like I'd never come across meditation. It was 1996. And so for me, that was like this light bulb moment that it's just like I wanted that. I needed that. That was what I was looking for. You know, all the drugs, the drinking, the partying, and then the psychiatrists and doctors and suicidal tendencies. It's like, no, this is what. And then when I came across the meditation, it was like tears in my eyes. Like everything that I've been looking for in my life was to be found in the inner stroke, the inner journey, the inward inquiry. And that was really the starting point of my journey into the depths of meditation and spirituality and Eastern philosophy.
So what happened next in that journey? Because it's like you're Wolf in Wall Street, and now you're like a meditation coach.
Yeah, it was a very long process. Yeah, there's a lot of story in between. That's right, exactly. So it was 1996. So I started meditating, and very quickly, what happened was the first thing was I started sleeping. I had the most chronic insomnia, like brutal insomnia. And I was just sleeping everywhere. And that's because I moved my body out of sympathetic nervous system, the fight flight, into parasympathetic nervous system, the peace state. And that's allowing the body to do what it naturally wants to do and actually what it's capable of doing. And so it was like this reorganization. So I started sleeping better. I started feeling lighter and clearer and happier. And so because I started feeling lighter, clearer, and happier, I was gravitating towards activities that were going to support and be congruent with that. So it was less like, oh, I don't really feel like drinking tonight. I certainly don't want to take any drugs. And so the addictions started to melt away because I was already starting to produce more serotonin, oxytocin, those biochemicals that make you feel good. My body's got that capacity to do it. So I continued on as a broker. Look, you know, I've got kids. I had a big mortgage. I had set myself up working in an industry with, you know, almost 7-figure salary. That was not an easy thing to just walk away from. So I stayed in the job, but I really changed a lot about the way I lived and the way I related to the job and the way I related to life itself. I certainly didn't become this perfect monk by no means whatsoever. I don't want anyone to get this deluded idea that's like, oh, I started meditating. It didn't happen to me. But yeah, you know, it was a very gradual process of slowly turning the ship around. And I stayed in that job for 16 more years, meditating, you know, and just changed the way I did things. And so eventually what happened was over those 16 years, I had a 26-year career in finance. The first 10 years was just out of control, Wolf of Wall Street style living, which led to that sort of meltdown. And then the next 16 years was, you know, just working really well as a broker. My business went through the roof. I became very healthy, very mindful of the things that I was doing. Certainly not perfect, that's for sure, but definitely better at what I was doing and better at the way I was living my life, and made better choices. I had better decision making, which was really helpful. And eventually I just felt so drawn to the idea of bringing this technique to the world in a bigger way. It was one thing I really grappled with was the inaccessibility of the practice. And this was way before any apps were out there. There was no Calm and Headspace, and, you know, there was no internet. And so I really felt a strong calling to somehow bring this very esoteric, quite expensive practice. It was transcendental meditation for anyone listening. It sort of got transcendental meditation as a branched version of that called Vedic meditation. Even Deepak Chopra's primordial sound techniques, very similar style. But they were only taught in one particular way. They were very hard to find a teacher. Teachers were only living in wealthy suburbs, and there was just a lot of people that couldn't access it. And it was just a game changer for me. And it was like, I've got to bring this out to the world. So that's when I really wanted to mainstream meditation as much as I possibly could. And so, yeah, sorry, I guess I got to put an end to that story. I did my teacher training, learned to become a meditation teacher. Yeah, that was it. And then that's the end. And then I became a meditation teacher. And then I just, I left finance and worked on setting up a business model that would somehow support my family and make it sustainable to do as a full-time career. And so that's when I looked at diversifying into things like the film and books and online programs and running retreats and doing corporate training. So getting some depth in the model. And that's a lot of what I do these days. I've moved quite beyond just purely teaching meditation, more into coaching conscious leaders how to set up mindful businesses, bringing in that 26 years in finance and 26 years studying Eastern philosophy, bringing those two worlds together and trying to help other conscious leaders to try and do this in a more sustainable way, because there's never been a model for this. This is a new phenomenon. Yoga teachers, meditation teachers, healers, authors, trying to do something like this, our passion, our purpose as a career full time. It's something that was never done in the history of humankind.
Yeah, well said. You gave me the background I was looking for, so thank you.
Okay, I'm glad I finished the story off for you.
Great job.
Yeah, this makes me, I'm very curious about how it seems like you do this well, because you do so much. You've written all these books and you've produced a film, and then you do everything where you're working with people one-on-one and in groups. And I think it would be really nice to hear how you balance productivity and peace, because it can feel like the modern successful life is just so full of doing and doing and doing and doing. So I wonder how you balance that for yourself.
Yeah, it's very true what you're saying, and this is what's leading us to one of the most imbalanced, most unhappiest, and most anxious societies we've ever seen in the history of humankind. The amount of people currently on pharmaceutical drugs to help them sleep better, feel less fearful, less anxious, and to be happier is just off the charts, exponential, crazy. And that's because we are really not human beings, we're human doings, and we've lost the essence of what it is to live. And one of the things that I really inspire my clients to do is to not just do, but to be very aware of what state you're in while you do what you do. It's got to be the state that we're in, because when we're in a state of stress and anxiety and overwhelm, and we're doing things to try to experience happiness, we're actually pushing happiness further away from us, because we can't experience what we're looking for, ironically, because we're too worn out trying to do what we're doing to get the happiness. So I turn that around and say, let's get happiness first. Let's establish ourselves in, we call it being. So there's a beautiful Sanskrit quote, which is my favorite quote. Maybe we can put in the show notes or something, but it's yogastha kuru kamani. Yogastha kuru kamani means established in being, perform action. So what we're doing wrong in our society is that we're in what's called outcome-oriented fulfillment. I must experience an outcome. I must meet someone. I must have this, or I must get that, and then I will feel happy. And it's got to be the other way around. It's like, I'm happy, and then I'll go and experience this, and then I'll go and get that. And so we've got to shift this very faulty mental code that we all have in our society that's leading to excess. This is why we created the film, The Portal, and the book, was because we wanted to try and flip the deep code that's in our society that's leading to environmental catastrophe. It's leading to unsustainability in our species. It's leading to immense unhappiness levels. And it's simply because of one faulty code that if I get something or experience something, then I'll be happy. And if we look at the cultures, traditions, and religions, that they subscribe to a very different viewpoint, which is I'll find happiness first. And if I get something or experience something, then that's kind of like a bit of a bonus, isn't it? And it totally changes the way we live our life when we establish happiness or fulfillment first and then go into action. So what happens is then, interestingly, we become very creative. We become very expressive. It's like, oh my God, I just got this overflow of creative impulses. And it's almost like I just wake up in the morning going, gosh, I've got another book just coming out of my head. Or I've got another film coming out of my head. Or I've got a program that I want to create. And we become these kind of strange time billionaires where the time that we're in action is very efficient, but we're very good at balancing that. So for me personally, I go to the gym 3 times a week. Physical workout, I think, is really important, and looking after our physical form is critical because it's a physical form that is the portal, the gateway to this world that we interact with. I go to sauna 3 times a week. I like to sweat. I do yoga 3 times a week. I meditate 2 times a day. I do journaling. I read books every day. I make sure that I have lots of quality time with my family and friends. And so in amongst that, then I'll find time to work as well.
Yeah.
That's a really good recipe for happiness, because it made me want to say, so how do you get happy? How do you become fulfilled and get happy? So would you say, yeah, all the things you just mentioned, would you say that's it's a description?
Sorry, it's exactly that. It's a really good question. How do we get happy? It is a very holistic approach. Unfortunately, in the Western world, and I shouldn't say the Western world, it's the entire world now, by the looks of it, we tend to want to take shortcuts to things, which is why we have a remote control for our TVs. It's like, I don't want to get up and have to change the channel in the ads. I'd rather just push a button. So it's in our natural design to try and get a shortcut. And so what we've done is we've tried to shortcut happiness by taking a tablet. I'm not going to look at any of the lifestyle choices that I'm making. I'm going to eat shit food. I'm going to watch crap TV. I'm going to moan and whinge, and I'm going to just hopefully this tablet will make me feel better. Yeah. This is crazy, right? But we can't shortcut fulfillment, and we have to look at any of the traditions throughout the history of humankind that have deeply innate levels, or not innate, so deep levels of fulfillment and happiness. They have, we call it sadhana. Sadhana is this practice, a process. And so you'll find this in certainly my lifestyle, where I didn't have practice and process. It was just a shortcut to fulfillment, which is let's go and get wasted. Let's go and take lots of drugs. Let's go and let's party. Let's go and buy lots of things. And hopefully that will give me happiness. And what we find in the cultures where there's no process or no surrender of preferences to the commitment to fulfillment, we see immense levels of unhappiness. And there's a deep correlation between the cultures that forego those shortcuts to happiness and willingly surrender those preferences to dedicate practices to attaining a deeper inner fulfillment. We call it self-referred fulfillment, because there's only two levels of fulfillment in the world. There's outcome-oriented fulfillment and self-referred fulfillment. And so if we're in outcome-oriented fulfillment, we're going to be chasing all our life, and we'll never actually get there. But self-referred fulfillment is one that's sovereign. It's something that we sustain regardless of where we are, regardless of what we're going through. And it's something that we cultivate within ourselves, and we own it. And so it comes through meditation, through reading positive books, through eating good, healthy food, through exercise and movement, through stretching your body, through nourishing your body with good fluid intake. It's a very holistic approach. And we've actually got a program for people to overcome anxiety and depression, which covers all of these different strategies and practices.
Wow.
Oh.
That's great. Thank you for that. So I actually did watch The Portal last night, and I enjoyed it. And while I was watching The Portal, there was this quote, and it said, unconditional love isn't just about loving everything, but it's about coming from a place of love in regards to everything. I know you love speaking on love and unconditional love and how important it is. So if you could just tell me a little bit more about your feelings in regards to this topic.
Yeah, one of the biggest traumas and the most amount of suffering that I see in the world comes from a misguided idea that we deserve love, we should be getting love, we should be receiving love, someone should be giving us love. And unfortunately, this leaves us in a place of disconnect from what's true. And what's true, when we say what's true, it's undeniable. It's just, it might not be experienced yet, but it doesn't mean it's not true. And that is that we are the essence of love at the subtlest level. Love is innate. Love is not something that we receive or we get. Love is something that we are. And what we're in the process of learning to do here as humans is to rewrite that deep program that any book we read, any TV series we watch, any movie we sit through, generally has that code of faultiness embedded within it, that you should be getting love, you should be receiving love, someone should be loving you. And what that does is that it continually puts our perspective of love in the outside world, when what we really need to do is look within and realize, oh my goodness, and that exercise that we went through this today, just really, if you did that every day, you'll start to realize, oh, I am the embodiment of love, and I can actually source that myself from like the inner geyser that continually flows outward, and it's always there. And when we start to, here's the irony, when we're looking for love, we'll never really get the amount we're looking for. So we'll always be coming from a place of lack, which means that I'm empty and I'm looking for someone to fill that cup up. But when we realize that our cup is overflowing, the irony is that we become very lovable. So when we start to realize that, oh, and live and breathe the embodiment of love. And so if we look at some of the great awakened beings that realize, when we say realize, this self-realize, that's enlightened, they're of light, the Ramana Maharshis, the Christ, the Gandhis, the Mother Teresas, they can become incredibly lovable. And so lots of people want to love them. So when we're not looking for love, because we're so filled with love, we become very loved. It's very ironic, right? And so one of the things we want to really help humanity awaken to is the essence of their own lovingness. And what we currently have is a lot of, the analogy I like to use is the wave in the ocean. We have a lot of waves looking for the water,
Mm.
A lot of waves looking for, where's the ocean? Where's the ocean? I'm looking for water. It's like, you are it. You are it. You've been told to look out there. You've been told to look out there. You've been told to look in your family. You've been told to look in your relationship. You've been told to look, on Instagram, to have someone love you. But that's not where you're going to find it. And that's not where you should be looking for it. Once you start to realize within yourself, regardless of your upbringing, regardless of your circumstance, regardless of what your husband or your wife has done to you, that you have the sovereignty of being the embodiment of love. And that's where freedom exists.
Wow, that is beautiful. I really appreciate that answer. I feel like that's going to be really powerful for our collaborative to hear. And also, I just want to say thank you for everything you've provided us so far. I would love to start learning a little bit about how we can give back to you and some of the initiatives you're working on. I know you have the goal of having 1 billion meditators. How can we help you accomplish that goal? And how can we help you with your other goals?
Thanks. I appreciate that. That's a lovely reciprocation. I guess, really just, getting the film and the book out. I mean, we've got a meditation program, which is, I guess, in some ways a disruption of an ancient technique. We really realized that we've got modern technology at our disposal for a good reason. And I think an enlightened planet can't exist without technology. Technology is what we cover in the film a lot, is that a lot of the spiritual world, and I can understand why this is happening, because there's a lot of disconnect from the spiritual world and the world of technology, because they see that as conflict, or it's a bad thing. But we've had the knowledge of enlightenment, we've had the practices that lead us to enlightenment, that's the embodiment of love, on the planet for 7,000 to 10,000 years. And the reason that they're only just seeping into the collective now, that is the masses, is because technology allows us to do exactly what we're doing right now. I talk with you over in America, and I'm here in Australia. And for us to reach large portions of the world very, very quickly. Now, if those traditions stayed where they were in the Himalayan mountains, in secret texts, hidden away in tombs that no one could ever access, and the handful of people that had access to the tools for enlightenment and knew about enlightenment kept it to themselves, then we would still have a portion of the world being enlightened and about 99% of the world still living in ignorance and suffering. And that's not time for that. It's time for actually the whole of the knowledge, the techniques. And that's why we're seeing plant-based medicines come out into the world. It's why we're seeing meditation techniques come out in the world. It's why we're seeing yoga come out in the world. It's why we're seeing podcasts and things like this happening right now, because the time is now for the breaking down of the barriers that kept spirituality and the rest of the world separate. And now it's time to bring those two things together en masse.
Yeah.
I love that.
So yeah, how can we do that? I don't know. Just tell people where I live and on my website. They can find stuff there, I guess. Don't tell them where I live. Just on my website.
Great.
We will give them your
knocking on my front door. Hey, I'm here. I'm in the middle of dinner.
The whole Heart Coherence Collaborative at your door. So that's good. So we will share all your information on the different things you do and the movie, and our people will love all of that.
Thank you. That's wonderful. And look, there is a partner program. If people want to become partners, we're all about exactly what you said about sharing and caring. And so we've got, if people feel compelled to want to share this, they can join as a partner. And then as a partner, we share 50% of any of the sales of the film and the programs. And they can find that on the portal website, which is entertheportal.com.
Awesome.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And you also offer retreats too. So you do a lot of meditation retreats. Maybe speak to those real quick, just because I'm personally interested in that.
Yeah, retreats are a big part. I think that the one thing that I can do the most for changing someone's life for the better is them coming on the retreats. The retreats are a very powerful experience. They're usually a 6-day journey. We have some 1 and 5 day journeys, but ultimately they're 6 and 7 day journeys. We generally do them around the world. So we were supposed to have, I've been running them in Bali for 10 years, and we have done them in Maui. We were going to have Greece and Dubai as well, possibly Philippines, and possibly in Costa Rica or America. But COVID's obviously challenged that a little bit at the moment. That will obviously change again. But we've been running them in Australia here. So we've got 2 retreats coming up, one in Byron Bay and one in Victoria in the mountains there. So they're in April and in June. But our Bali and our Greece retreats at this stage are just on hold. We're really hoping to have them open up this year, but it's still looking a little bit tentative, just because particularly Bali, they want us to locked down for, I think, a week or something before the retreat. And, it's just making it a little bit difficult to access that type of experience just for now. So hopefully that will change maybe towards the end of the year, and definitely in 2023, we're hoping that it'll be very back to normal.
Great. Well, thank you.
Hopefully we can come up to America and see you all there.
Yeah, come here. We'll help you co-host one. So
that'd be amazing.
Yeah,
that would be amazing.
We can definitely set that up. And thank you so much for that guided experience. It was a pleasure to get to know you. And if in the future you think of any ways the Heart Coherence Collaborative can support you on your journey, we would love to do that.
That'd be amazing. Thanks so much. It's wonderful to be here and share the space with you all.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tom.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.